Hi, welcome to my journey. We're out here, like I said, we gotta get out every day, rain or shine, like we was a postman or something, right? Just to stay healthy. Whew. My goodness. Turning the heat on took 10% of my battery, just like that. Boom. Oh, I left you on. Well, let me tell you something. Last night, I was like, let me make me something that I can just eat without going into a coma, right? So I'm getting ready to make me some cornbread, right? And the cornbread, it said it was hot and honey cornbread, right? And I'm like, what would go good with hot and honey? Next thing you know, I'm putting chili in the cornbread and cheese, right? So I'm putting chili and cheese inside of the cornbread. Yep, and it was good. I'm telling you, it was so good. I went into a chili cornbread coma for real. I ain't mad though. I ain't mad. Woke up today. It was a little cold. All these beans that I'm eating, you would swear I was living over there in Greece somewhere, right? Because I believe in Greece they eat beans every day. Every day they eat beans. Okay, so today I did fix some more beans. I fixed some red beans along with some chickpeas or some garbanzo beans, right? And I got them, all stewed up in the Instapot. No, it's a faux Instapot. It's just an electronic pressure cooker that copied Instapot. Because Instapot, they're a name brand and they cost about a whole third more than what I paid for in a faux Instapot. Okay? Today, I did not wake up and have my protein coffee. Right? I did not. So instead, I decided to get the prebiotics. Okay, the prebiotics. No, the pre-workout. The pre-workout. The pre-workout. The creatine. The collagen. And the fiber. Right? That I normally would get in my protein drink. Alright? I normally would get in my protein drink, but I ran out of protein mix. I think I got like a half of a serving of protein left. Right? But I'm going to tell you, without the protein drink, I be missing probably about 30 to 50 grams of protein without the protein mix. got 56 degrees outside on this Monday Madness morning. If it's not busy. See, I wasn't thinking it was going to be busy. I was not thinking it was going to be busy. But based off of the parking lot, it's more busy than I thought. Okay? Yeah, it's more busy than I thought. So, I don't know. We might have to hold off on, going here. Because there's just too many people shopping right now. They out here shopping. And all I want is some water flavoring. And I don't want to be standing in no long ass line. And I can't even do self-checkout. Okay? Okay. So, because the temperature is so cold, right? Like I said, it went from the extreme. It went from hot to cold, right? We could get a lot done if the temperature would just stay within the 60s and 70s for just a little while, right? I can get a lot done. Let me say it that way. I can get a lot done because that temperature to me is a beautiful temperature. Beautiful. Okay? I can handle that temperature. Right? I could do some chores around the house. I was watching this one lady and I really noticed that most of the very popular solo dolo women who get a lot of following, are women who present themselves in a very like undermining situations, right? Like men love to see a woman out there struggling in the wilderness all by herself. Like she's naked and alone. Right? That's how they really like them, because most of them, they're in remote areas, they're by themselves, they're struggling, but they're making it work, and they be like thinking in their mind, yeah, they just need me, a man in their life, right? That's how they think. Not me, them, dumb, okay? So, I don't think they even have water flavoring at Sam's. I had not come across it. Anyway, so now, Papa Presidente is trying to tell us that everybody in America is gonna get $2,000. And I was just thinking to myself, okay, what would I do with $2,000? Right? With $2,000, would I really want to pay my bills after suffering like this? But the sad part about it is you really won't be able to go nowhere, right? Because the government is shut down. It's a lockdown. We're all on lockdown because the government shut down. And if we get out and try to go somewhere to another country or something like that, yeah, we may not get there safely. We may not. Right? I mean, what are the chances? What are the chances that we would be that one person that survived that airplane crash, like in India? Oh, yeah, one person survived that airplane crash over there in India. What is the chances that will be you? Okay? So, let's say that it is you, right? I just knew for sure that this guy who survived the plane crash, the only one that survived the plane crash, was going to become popular, be a celebrity, that people would just think that he was, I don't know, some kind of, either a demon or an angel, right? Because those are about the only things we know that will survive death. Right? Because we got immortals. Those are the only immortals we know. There's either a demon or an angel. Okay? So, but no. They showed him like a couple of times, and that was it. I don't know if it was because it was a language barrier, or he didn't have no management team to promote his life. I don't know, but whatever it was, it was just sad. It was sad. I was like, how in the world do you defeat death? Be the only survivor out of 250 some people on an airplane crash and not become popular, rich, and famous. Then I thought about it, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of like, the same way how, you could be an Olympic full-time Olympian, and they decide that you're not going to become famous. Right? So, you just got to wonder, how come that happens to some people? What's going on here? Right? They have everything that it takes. Skills, talent, some of them even flamboyant, right? Some of them are flamboyant as F, right? Do they get the sponsorships? No. Okay, so that brings me back to the topic of the day, right? We have some people out here, it seems like no matter what is going on, they got to have iron in the fire, right? They could be doing well financially, right? Doing great, right? But then they want to do van life, right? Because they just, like histrionics, they got to have the attention. They don't need the money, right? We got people out here that are living in their vans and shit because they have to. These guys are trying to make it seem like, oh no, we out here living in our vans because we want to, right? But these are people that are able to, you know, pay for parking, pay for electricity, pay for water, pay for a shower, pay, you know, for the buffet meal. You know, it's just not the same thing, right? Then, you know, some of them are like, yeah, you know, we don't have to be in the van. We can just go in the car, right? And it's like, yeah, we know. We know that there are times you're staying in the car because you want to. But you're not always staying in the car. We can see you're not always staying in the car. Right? But I don't know if they're doing it out of compassion for the people who have to stay in the car, or, you know, they're trying to deflect the attention from the people that actually need the attention in order for them, you know, to get the subscribers and stuff needed, you know, so that people will watch their story. And then some of them need it because, for sure, you know, we need to know that these people are safe, right? I was just watching Minivan, whatever her name is, right? She's this 70-year-old woman out here living in a van, you know, not realizing how lucky she is. She's very lucky. You know, maybe she's got some kind of spiritual protection or something. Okay? But she doesn't recognize that. She doesn't believe in that. She thinks that whatever she can do, you can do too. And that's not true. Okay? That's just not true. We all have different talents, skills, protection, gifts, you know, and debilitations. We all have those. All right? And some people, you know, they just want to be involved in everything. This woman here, she has wrote, I think, like, every time she comes up with a thought, she writes a book. And she's always promoting her book. You need to buy my book. You know, this is a psychological thriller of how it is to live in a van. You know, all kinds of stuff, right? Anyway, I understand. I love books. I've always loved books, right? I love books, but now that my eyes have gotten bad, you know, it's easier for me to listen to books than to try to read books because my eyesight is bad, right? I got magnifying glasses, magnifying glasses. Not eyeglasses, but the magnifying glass, right? That I use to try to, you know, to read stuff. I even have a portable magnifying glass that I, you know, keep on hand just in case I'm going to be forced to read something. Here it is. Here it is. Okay? Here it is. You know, and that's something that just creeps up on you, and it can happen out of old age. It just can happen. Not everybody, when they get older, you know, has, you know, fickle eyesight. My eyesight is fickle. I don't know why it's fickle. Maybe to go with my personality. I don't know. But my eyesight is fickle. Sometimes it seems like there's nothing wrong with my eyesight. If I was to give myself, you know, an eye score, I would say it is probably 18, 17. Not 2020, but 1817, right? But then when my eyesight gets fickle, woo, then it seemed like my eyesight is just really bad. Like it could be something in the line of 9-10. You know, because I do have one eye that's better than the other eye. Okay? So, yeah. So then, getting back to what I was saying, right? You have these people out here. They want to be in the spiritual community. They want to be in the vlogging community. They want to be in the travel community. They want to be in the victim community. They want to be in the leadership community. They want to be in, you know, they want to be in every single community. And then wonder why, you know, people resent them. It's like, it's because you got an iron in every fire. Why do you have an iron in every fire? You know, what need going on in you that makes you feel like you have to put an iron in every fire? Right? As if there are people out there that don't need to have their iron in the fire. They do. They need to have their iron in the fire. And the sad part about it is, these people that have their iron in every fire, right? They're not just trying to be supportive. They're trying to dominate the genre. They're trying to dominate the genre. Okay, let me run in here and grab me some water flavoring, because I already know. I've already cut back on my water intake because I knew I had ran out of water flavoring. So I cut back. Hold on. Okay. They had some old, so all these had this costume thing that they had for the doggies, right? And I'm like, okay, you know, this gives me an idea, you know, it's supposed to look like that, right? For the puppy, on how to, you know, keep them warm, you know, since the weather has just dropped, right? It just really dropped. It's 54 degrees. I even got 2 hats on. You know, usually my wig is considered hat number 1, and then I have a hat number 2 out here on my head. Okay? And that's the way it is. Alright? I went in and I got some water flavoring. Yeah. And I got me a Pops. Right? The prebiotic Pops. 25 calories per can. Yes. Let me see it. I think it has... It has 2 grams of fiber. 2 grams of fiber. So you can increase your fiber, right? The whole goal before being, you know, jacked up by our government was to try to have 150 grams of protein, a minimum of 30 grams of fiber and you know, the lowest amount of carbs that we could possibly get when it comes to carbs, right? And I wasn't too worried about it because I felt like, you know, I wasn't really eating, you know, any breads or sweets, right? Up until, you know, the money starts getting low. Once the money starts getting low, it's really easy. It's really easy, you know, to start getting into like either starchy stuff, high carb stuff, right? Like, you know, I started eating more sandwiches. I started eating more breads. I started, you know, eating more potatoes and starchy stuff, right? Because, you know, that's what we do in order to stretch our money. Is we have to stretch it some kind of way, right? Like I said, you know, you could eat a healthy meal, but you're still gonna need, you know, a minimum of 15,000 calories a day just to maintain, you know, your daily, you know, automatic, you know, physical features pumping. Okay? All right. So, and I decided to get out, you know, made sure that, are you gonna get out today? Are you gonna get out today? Like, it's cold, and it does, it feels cold. 54 degrees feels cold even when the sun is out, when you're used to being in 80 and 90 degree weather. And my metabolism is slow to adjust, very slow to adjust, because like I said, you know, I have problems with my metabolism. So adjustments come slow. I love it down here. I always seem to come down here. So beautiful. It's so beautiful down here. Yeah. Let me turn this off. But it's cold out there. It's cold. I don't know if I can do it. Let me see. Okay. We're here. We're gonna try to do it. We're gonna try. So we're down here by the lake. Here go my babies. They ready to get out. Yeah. So we getting out.